Good morning and welcome to the All Four Seasons Home Show, where we bring you the best and brightest of companies that can help you with your number one financial asset. That's your home. We love all things home because if it's not your number one financial asset, I'll bet it's your number one emotional asset where you've got your family. We're always worried about making sure we take care of our families and take care of our castles. That's our homes. And we try to give you great people who you can use to help you make great informed decisions. And I am Chris Lalomia. I'm the trusted Toolbox's handyman. I'm your favorite handyman, the one you want to call for all things handyman related. We have our handyman for a day, and we can help you with all those little things around the home. And today we've got our sponsor with us, the guy who started this thing, Dan Watkins from the All Four Seasons Garage, Entry Doors and Windows. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Chris. I'm looking forward to this one. This is a new one. I don't think we've ever had on, and I personally am really looking forward to learning about what we're going to learn today.
Yeah, and today we are definitely going to turn up the bright lights on this one. We're going to take in the sun, as it were, and we're going to figure out how to use renewable resources.
Very good.
This is going to be an homage to Jim on that one. I gave him a little dad joke in there, but we've got Tom Bowman from Custom Solar Solutions. Now, for a lot of us, what is solar? I think that's where we got to start. But before we get that far, we want to get a little background from Tom. Tom, good morning. We'd like to hear a little bit more about your company and why you started this.
Okay. Well, we started this endeavor or this journey about 4 years ago. We were building a house, our prior house over in Brookhaven. A lot of power outages going on, and my wife and I were looking for something to get out of corporate America and really sink our teeth into a company that we could actually make a real difference. And so when we were building our new house, we started investigating backup generators and other options, solar, et cetera. And I started having some conversations with a few companies, just checking them out, getting quotes, et cetera. And I felt like I needed a bath after I got done talking to them. It was like going onto a used car lot. And we started investigating, did a lot of research, and we decided that we were going to start our own solar company, get out of the corporate world and really focus on how we could, start making people's lives better and make a difference out there. When we started it, there was a couple things, based on our investigations and everything else, what we said, we were locally owned and operated. When in doubt, do the right thing. More importantly, all of our people are in-house. We don't subcontract out anything. So we can manage the messaging. There's no lying. And obviously, on the install side, we focus on quality. And, most of our customers, we have 5-star reviews across the board and probably about half our customers are repeat customers. So, solar is a great, great opportunity. It's not the holy grail. Nuclear, wind, there's all other types of, to get power, but solar is definitely a key piece. And, it's been around for a couple thousand years. People don't realize that our ancestors were using natural glass to use the sun to start fires. So it's been around. NASA was using it in satellites back in the 1950s. And, about 1990s, I guess, when it really started hitting the mainstream. The last 5 years, costs, technology, it's crazy. Costs have come down over 70% for solar. The technology, the battery storage is a game changer in the solar industry. Because now you can use your solar 24/7. You store it during the day, use it at night, and then the battery storage is always there during an outage. And that was our biggest concern because we were always having power outages. And in today's world, aging grid, we can all, regardless of what political affiliation you're in, I think we can all agree that the storms are getting more frequent, more intense. Planet's getting hotter. So being able to have that kind of peace of mind, what I would call it, and that's for us. When we built our house, again, it's about 7,500 square feet, 3 HVACs. My power bill now is, and I've got proof here, and witnesses, but it's averaging about $16 a month right now, and that covers the whole house. That's solar. We have the battery backup. We've had outages. You don't even notice it. We can talk about generators later as well. But and then more importantly, I finally just broke down and traded in my 19-year-old Navigator gas guzzler, and I got an EV. And now, actually, during the day, I use the solar to charge my EV. So I'm not even paying to go to a Tesla charging station or anything else. The solar covers everything. So solar is a great thing if you design it the right way. Solar in a concept, it's panels that take the sun's energy and create direct current power, and then you have an inverter that converts it to AC or alternate current power, which mostly powers the bulk of your house. That's on a high level simplistic scale. Designing it, engineering it, understanding your needs, all of that, the irradiance of the sun, where it hits your house or your property. There's a whole bunch of different options of what you can do to get it installed. But designing and engineering it, make sure it's supporting all the necessary loads, your future needs, working from home, EV charging, all of that. And then you add the battery onto it. The engineering and design is a real big piece of the puzzle. And then the permitting and obviously the interconnection with your local utility, et cetera. But the install and all of everything that's involved on that, if you get the right product, the right install, and the right design and engineering, which is what we pride ourselves on, these things can go for 20, 25 years. I mean, solar panels, we've replaced panels recently, been shot. People fire guns up in the air, bullets got to come down with gravity. They're still working. So they take real punishment, but they're warranted for 25 to 30 years, actually, the panels, and then most electronics are 10 to 15 years warranted. So it can last a long time. And we've had a couple homeowners that love their solar so much, they take it with them. So we'll take it off, and we've taken them off and installed it on their new home. Wow. And there's a lot of other aspects and benefits we can get into on the solar side. But yeah, the genesis is wanting to get out of corporate America and make a difference. And we've been slowly building, but we've been doubling in size the last 4 years. And this year's a real breakout year for us, residential and commercial, as well as on the utility scale and some government work as well, but solar farms. But it's amazing what you can do with solar nowadays.
I have a question right off the bat. Well, we got a pretty sunny place, right? The sun shines here quite a bit, but how would solar do in a place? I come from Michigan. We both come from Michigan. I mean, you go 6 months without seeing the sun. I mean, true, exaggerating a little bit, but, in the wintertime, you just don't see it. How would you handle that, or how would it handle? I know that battery will store some of that energy, but how long can it hold that energy, I guess, without getting more sunlight?
Well, it depends on how big your battery is. Most homes, normal homes, 3,000 square foot homes, usually use probably 20 to 30 kilowatt hours of power a day on average. So again, you design we typically, when we do our initial designs with customers, because let's be quite honest. I mean, solar's not cheap, right? But, peace of mind. And then if once the payback happens over 4, 5, 6, 7 years, then it's basically free power until you have to replace it or upgrade it or whatever. So, and in this day and age, you just don't know, right? I mean, the geopolitics, the price inflation's going crazy, oil prices through the roof. And I'm 60 now, not to date myself, but prices always go up pretty quick, but they very rarely come back down.
That's right.
And so, I mean, when you look from the future, to me, I like peace of mind. And what I really tell people is we make decisions all the time. Do we want to rent or own a home? Do we want to rent and own our car? For me, I mean, I want to be able to own my own power. I mean, you can't do anything nowadays. I mean, back in the day, we'd have flashlights or fire or whatever, and I mean, we'd have paper maps and we'd just get around. But nowadays, your Wi-Fi goes down, you're disconnected from the world. So you need that power. So for me, I love the peace of mind. It was well worth my investment. And I encourage everybody to, at least take a look at it and see how we can do it. There's a lot of different options, a lot of different ways to go about this.
And just to follow up on that, though,
Yep.
you were saying the 3,000 square foot
I'm
house.
sorry, I got completely sidetracked.
I know. I was going to say.
No, I am very passionate about this. It really
you can
is.
tell. Absolutely, I love it.
And there's a lot of ways. So going back on that, again, it depends on your needs. If you want to back it up for one day, or if you want to have a week, and then in that case, we would set that power. Basically, our design software looks at it from a satellite perspective, and it basically animates the sun for 365 days of the year, the sun exposure that you're going to get. In our design software, then we place the panels where you're going to get optimal sun depending on where your location is. And based on that tells us how much potential power you can generate on a daily basis throughout the year. And then on that, then we back into, how much power are you consuming, and how much would you want to have backed up? in a case of an outage or whatever. And remember, I mean, the sun's been coming up for 4 billion years, so the sun's going to still keep coming up in our lifetimes every day. And believe it or not, it is a myth. The sun, I mean, the solar still is generated in cloudy and rainy days. Not as much, obviously, but you still get sun. And actually, believe it or not, I had my system, the last big full moon, it actually clicked on about 1 kilowatt just for a couple minutes. So again, the moon is just reflecting the sun.
Right.
So if you get it just right, I mean, I've seen that happen too. Obviously, it's not going to do much for your bill, but
it's interesting though. I mean, that's where I was trying to,
Yeah.
So if you want more, you basically have to get that bigger battery, right? The bigger battery,
more panels, all of that. But again, it comes down to what you want. And the beauty of this is, how we design our systems. We design them to scale, because a lot of customers are, hesitant because it's new technology. There's been a lot, the bad narrative out there and everything, but a lot of those players are gone. So we build it to scale, so you can start small, and then you're not repeating. There's no redundancy there, right? We can just add to the system, whether it be panels, whether it be more inverters, whether it be more batteries, however you want to do it. Then we can add, and you have a complete flexibility on that front.
So you talked about this, and that let's address this. Solar has a bad rap when it comes to putting them here in the Southeast, at least.
Does.
I know it's got a good reputation in places like Arizona and California, but here in the Southeast, we've heard a lot of bad things about this. I know we're coming up on a break, but if we could just take 30 seconds, how has it gotten better?
Well, for Georgia, believe it or not, the state is ranked number 8 in the country with regards to solar install already. Georgia is a great state for solar. There's a lot of trees, so you always have to take into consideration shading, and it's counterintuitive to let's cut some trees down to add solar. But on that case, Georgia is a prime. It is ranked number 8 in the country with regards to solar. On the negative side, unfortunately, in new industries, like we've talked about before, you do get some bad players, and luckily, most of those players are gone. And which has left, the folks that really want to make a difference and do the right thing here in place. And hence, that's why, we don't subcontract out anything. We control the messaging, we control the quality, and the buck stops at me.
And the technology has improved significantly, as I understand as well. It's a little bit more hardened. It doesn't get broken as much, because in the city of trees here in Atlanta, we are worried about those trees falling on these things and doing some, but that's what I've heard as well. It's gotten a lot better. Is that true?
Yes. The resiliency of solar panels are crazy. I think we've replaced panels that have been shot with bullets, and they're still working. Another beauty of the solar is it helps protect your roof during hailstorms, et cetera. They can take a beating and they keep on going, and then they are warranted for a lot of that as well.
We are talking with Tom Bowman from Custom Solar Solutions, something that a lot of us probably haven't thought about much, but it's time to start thinking about it. And today we're going to bring you some of that great advice. If you missed any of our episodes, don't forget to go back out there and check our app. You can check out the podcast as well. We are the All Four Seasons Home Show here on Extra 106.3, your home of conservative talk radio. We're going to give you back right after these messages where we talk more about how to capture the power of solar and what it can do to help you. And we'll probably even talk about some of those nasty things like how much is it really going to cost. We'll be back right after these messages from our great sponsors here at the All Four Seasons Home Show. Welcome back to the All Four Seasons Home Show. I am Chris Lalomia, your favorite handyman from the trusted Toolbox, where we bring in the best and brightest of companies that can help you with your home. Today we're talking with Tom Bowman of Custom Solar Solutions, and we have actually a working case example that we're going to work through right here. We have Dan Watkins, who is going to build another home here in Atlanta, keeps giving back to the economy. We love it that he does that. Dan has built a great company, the All Four Seasons garage entry doors and windows, but he is considering other options for his power. So, Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what's going on and what questions do you have for Tom about this?
Yeah, Chris, I'm going to just lay it out here for Tom, and then you ask me additional questions if you need additional information. But I'm going to set it up this way, right? So it's on 160 acres. We're up in Waleska, so we're out there a little bit. I do have traditional power that I put in, but I definitely want the solar power because for two things. If if I can cheapen my bills, that's great, right? I mean, that, I know there's going to be some expense, but then, are we able to use this? Are we able to draw enough power for the house? It's about 5,500 square foot house. It's going to have a pool, right? I mean, so there's some additional power there. I know I need to get a generator at least for the traditional power, because I've heard the power goes down once a week here. This is like Tree City everywhere. They're dropping on power lines. I got a friend that lives in the neighborhood, and and sometimes it's 2 or 3 days that this goes on. So I'm like, I gotta have the generator. It sounds like I need to power the whole house with the generator. But I did want to get the solar. I want to find a spot on the land that I wouldn't really be using very often. That's just me thinking this. We got to clear some trees, right, to get this sun in. Mostly there's trees everywhere. Most likely we're gonna have to clear a little land. So what are you doing? You're coming out. Besides the information I just gave you, is there any additional information you need? And then how do you connect between the generator, the traditional power, and the solar?
Okay. So keep me honest, because I have a short attention span, so I'll try to answer all your questions. So the first question, how we would start, you give us your address. Based on the address, we'd go in, we'd take a satellite picture of your property, and that way, and we would... Typically, our initial design is to just max it out, figure out, just max it, give you the, the kind of the proof of concept of what could be. And then based on that, then the next piece would be we'd make a site visit out to your property and walk with you on your property, your home, understand what you have, the current electrical setup, is it up to code, all those things, what your consumption is currently. Do you have any plans for the next few years? Working from home more or getting an EV, all those types of things. If it is outage prone, we'd focus on how many days of power you might want to have backed up, and then put all that together, and then understand your budget and your objectives, right? So based on the budget. Solar, I'm not going to lie. It can be, if it's done right, it's going to cost some money. We are definitely not the cheapest, game in town. But we stand behind our quality, we stand behind our performance, we stand behind solar. And we're locally owned and operated here. So you know exactly where to come and choke us if you need to. We've got brick and mortar offices in Sandy Springs, and our customers come in all the time and sit down and talk to us, and we work through those designs and everything. But that's how we would start. And then once we understood that, generators, they serve a purpose.
All right, I got a question. So Dan told you what he wanted to do by putting a solar array outside of the house. Mm-hmm. Is he telling you too much, or is that something is that something you come back and say, well, Dan, I know you said you want to do that, but I have a different location for you that I would want to put it, like on the roof? Or tell us what you would tell us on that.
Well, that would be part of the design, right? Yeah. And again, I mean, some folks live where there's an HOA. And they don't want anything on the front. If you go back 20 years with the satellite TV dishes and stuff, right? And
I wouldn't want it on my roof, just from a aesthetic standpoint myself. So I would want it somewhere else, just in my situation.
That's fine. But we could show you. I mean, panels come in all size, shapes, and colors. It's really come a long way on the technology side. If the roof if the roof is the best place for the solar, then we will tell you that. If it's not, then we'll tell you that as well, and we'll look for other options. But I mean, you can put it pretty much anywhere now. I mean, you can float the things. You can put them in concrete on your driveway. I mean, you put them on your roof. You can put them. It's just the applications are immense, and that's what we provide. Custom is the first word in our name, Custom Solar Solutions, because we look at each homeowner, what your needs are, and how we can best serve those needs, not only today but in the future. So that would be the first step, and the second step with the site survey. And once we come back from there, then we'd present you with a number of options, and we'd work from there.
And you were talking about the generator too, because sometimes you got to get this like in your head how this is going to work. So I'm like, okay, I've got traditional power, I've got solar power, I've got a generator. Tell me how that all works together, how it links together.
Well, besides the design engineering component and the install, which are critical, the products you choose are absolutely critical, because that will, something you buy online from China, it might last a year, or it might not perform at all. We're agnostic. Number one, we don't push any one brand, but we've been around for 4 years. We know what works, what doesn't work, and what works well together. So putting all the the panels with the inverters, with the batteries, and all the other pieces of the puzzle that go together, it definitely makes a huge difference on how long your system will perform in an optimal fashion and for how long, right? So on the generator side, to answer that question, generators are great. They serve their purpose. The issue with generators, though, is number one, they're noisy as hell. Number two, they smell because of all the emissions. Number three, you need fuel, whether it be natural gas or you got to go to the gas station and get gas. And number four, you got to maintain them, right? All those things. And you're going to drop. I mean, depending on the size of your home and what you need, I had one customer spend $100,000 on a backup generator. And typically you're only going to use those generators on outage days. And only if you have enough fuel or if you pumped it in on, from a natural gas side. So that's all but they do serve a purpose on getting you backup power. The other piece of that equation is you always know when the power went out with a generator because everything shuts down. And then everything reboots when the generator kicks back in. And typically the generator's outside. So if it's in a rainstorm, then you got to go outside and you got to deal with all that crap to get it going. The beauty of the battery storage and why it's such a game changer over the last couple of years, you get none of that. There's no smell. There's no heat. There's no noise. I've got some pictures where we have pets, a cat taking a nap on top of a battery stack, dogs there. There's no maintenance and there's no fuel because the solar is the fuel. The solar charges the batteries every day when you tell it to. You can control your solar system from your phone. Literally, it's on an app, and I have it for my house. You can track everything. So you get none of that, and the batteries, they're pricey. But the beauty of the battery, unlike the generator, is you use the battery 24/7 whenever you need it, and it's always there for an outage as well if you've sized it properly. So
you don't need a generator. You're saying if you go the solar route.
You don't need a generator, but if you're that far and if you're off grid and everything else, having a generator is fine. And the products that we use, we actually integrate the generator with the system. So your inverter, we use our primary inverter is called Solar. They're made out of Texas. A couple ex-NASA engineers got together. It is by far, one of the best inverters out there, right? And it'll even withstand a electromagnetic pulse attack from China if they ever hit us one. We have a couple customers that wanted their solar system to be protected from electromagnetic pulse, and we have shields for that as well. So it is crazy what you could do with these systems.
I haven't gone that far, but I'm not going to lie. That part of my solar here is if things really were to go bad, if things really went bad and that grid goes out or something happens, and it can, that stuff can happen in life. We don't know what's going to happen, but I would feel more comfortable just knowing I've got solar.
Yeah, well, and it's so the generator. I mean, the inverter is kind of the brains. It manages. You set it up to what you want it to do. It'll pull the solar. It'll pull from the grid if you wanted to. You might want to have there's an upcoming storm like this recent ice storm. We sent out a message to all of our customers. Friday, hit this button if you're not aware in your app, and it'll immediately max out your chart. It'll pull energy from the grid. It'll cost you a little money, but at least to fully charge your batteries in case there's an outage. Just in case. If it happens, during the day, your solar's on and everything's fine. But at night, if your battery's not fully charged already, you might be left in a lurch. So we're proactively working with our customers to handle those types of things. And that's a beautiful thing. But the generator's always there for additional backup and peace of mind.
So for some of us listening along here, you mentioned this term a couple times, but you also mentioned the guys making it. That's the NASA space engineers. What is an inverter?
Well, an inverter is a number of things, but I think I opened up with a little bit. The inverter is kind of the brains of the system, if you want to think about that. It takes the direct current power that's generated from the sun, from the panels, it takes that in, and then it decides on whether to keep it direct current to charge your batteries or to convert it to alternating current so you can use it in your house, plugging in appliances and everything else that you use. The inverter, really, it is the brains. I mean, it does everything. When I communicate with my system, it's all through the inverter and the app on my phone, or I can do it there manually, in front of, with the inverter. But it is critical. If you truly want a system designed to last and to truly perform, the inverter is the key piece. Most panels, efficiency is a tenth of a percent here and there, or the warranties, top panels versus the lower end panels. You can get by with rough panels. But the inverter is definitely the critical piece of the whole equation, and that's what controls the whole system. And
All right, so going back to Dan's situation, do you come back and give him a recommended solution? Do you talk about ways you could do value engineering and work it up? Do you give him good, better, best? How does the presentation go with that?
Typically, yeah, we give you multiple solutions based on what you've told us, right, and based on what we have to work with and your objectives, current and future. It is good, better, best. Like I said, these systems that we design and we put in, we design them and put them in to last for years and decades, more or less. But we would sit there and present the various options to you, understanding your budget and understanding what you're trying to accomplish. And then basically recommend. I mean, we don't get commissions off of what products we sell or anything like that from our partners, our vendors. So it's really coming up with the best solution for you at that moment, while giving you the flexibility to change your mind in the future or to add as you want to go. And again, that's all tied to your budget and what you're really trying to accomplish.
You also said that these last a long time. These panels. But me and Chris were in, sometimes they discontinue something, right? A certain model, or it's, that's the other thing I think, right? I mean, maybe it's 25 years from now. Are we going to have a solar panel to replace that's going to work with the old system? I mean, do you feel like that could be an issue, or is this kind of a plug and play thing that, we just don't need to worry about it if it's 20, 25 years from now? We're going to be able to find something to replace that panel that goes bad.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that pretty much every industry, models go in and out, and they're replaced by the latest and greatest. For the most part, everything that we deal with, I can't speak for the whole spectrum, but there's a lot of DIYers out there that all these off the shelf type of products and stuff. But the products that we deal with at our level, they are fairly plug and play. Once you get everything set up, panels will go out of. They'll generate new. I mean, the new panels will come online. They integrate perfectly with the existing, because again, they're just up there, creating direct current.
The sun, right?
Just catching the sun, right, on the panel side. So that, it's just
nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about. Every year you're going to come up with new models. And most of our manufacturers, especially on the electronic side, they actually offer upgrade type of services to where they'll give you a huge discount if you already have their product to get the newest and latest product. We've done a number of customers actually this year where they were one of the original adopters. They have one of the initial Tesla batteries that Elon signed back 10 years ago or whatever when they first got started, and those things were actually going really well. But they wanted their inverters to be upgraded, and we upgraded the inverters, and they worked fine with those 10-year-old batteries that he has. So, I mean, I think every industry goes through, everybody's trying to improve their products and improve everything, and things will get discontinued, and you move on from there. But it's no different in the solar space. Again, depending on what products you actually buy on the get-go.
So let's talk about, I'm going to tangent for a minute, then we'll come back to Dan so you can present him the different options and ballpark pricing. Who is a typical client of yours here in Atlanta, given that Georgia's the 8th best market now in solar? Who are some of those clients that are reaching out to you saying, I want this?
Well, our target market, back in the day, the folks that don't really, exist anymore, they sold, some pipe dreams, right? It was more or less a bill swap. Oh, your utility bill's $200. Come with us. We'll slap some panels up on your roof, and it'll work for you all the time. And oh, by the way, you'll save some money. But then they'd get them, caught up into a 20 or 30-year financing arrangement with dealer fees and everything else. And if you look at total cost over the 20 years, you were getting ripped off, right? And or leases. There's a, how can I put this? There's options for everyone, but so leases are a good thing for some people. Other people are not. We typically deal on a cash basis. We do have financing options for our folks, but we wouldn't recommend. We definitely look to if you could leverage your home equity in your home or something else. I mean, even our loan products that we have available, if there's nothing else to go to, they are a little better than what they used to be, but we definitely wouldn't recommend that. So our typical customers, definitely homeowners or business owners. because we work for home and business. And a lot of our homeowners actually own businesses, so it's a 2-for-1 there that we always can talk about there as well. But typically they own their home. They have some disposable income. And these systems can range, our systems are very custom. So, I mean, they can range from 20,000. One of our largest system that we put in last year, residential, was actually the largest in the Southeast, was 350,000. But it was 11,500 square foot home, built in 1971, 7 HVACs. And, here close by, it had a lot of history to it, but I don't want to give the homeowner away on this. But anyway, he wanted to be completely off grid.
So that's the question I think I probably should ask. What are the motivations for most of the people that contact you? Is it, I want to be off the grid? Is it, I want to save money? Is it, I want to prep for doomsday? What are people coming to you for?
We have an equal share of all of those.
Okay. I was going to say all the above.
All the above.
But we got one in the room with us, so good.
But I think, obviously everybody's looking, given all the price increases. I think we had like 6 price increases in the last 18 months just on the Georgia Power. I think it's widely known now that, AI is out of the box. All these data centers, all this, it's creating some huge issues with our power grid. The power grid is 60, 70, 80 years old in some spots, and prices are only going to continue to go up. I'm not a fortune teller, but I think based on history, I think prices are only going to go up. So the question isn't, what are you doing today? It's like, how is this world going to look in 10 years, 15 years? So a lot of people that we deal with are more of peace of mind. They can afford it, no problem. They see it, and we move forward. And they're looking for more from the future perspective. A lot of people do, like myself. I could afford it, but I don't like paying power bills. And I like to be able to get just my bill for the $16 bill every month for the fees, and and be able to live and not worry about it. And then during outages, since I have the battery storage in place and it's sized properly, you don't even notice when the power goes out. We literally are like, my wife is like, I think the power went out, because you don't see it with the battery storage. It's nanoseconds. There's no rebooting. There's nothing. It's like you don't even see it in a blink of an eye. The system automatically converts over to battery, unlike the generator side of the house. So for me, it was cutting cost, and then for me, it's the peace of mind of not having to worry about where my power is going to come from, because I know the sun's going to come up the next day. And oh, by the way, I sized it properly to where the batteries will get me through a full 24-hour cycle of darkness. That's how I decided to do it. And you have different options of what you want to back up. A whole home backup where your whole house gets backed up in an outage, that obviously costs more money because it's more battery, it's more wiring, it's more things. If you only want specific loads backed up, Wi-Fi, your refrigeration. How many times do you have an outage and you lose everything in your refrigerator? Or you're running to grab ice to try to keep things cold because you're the last people coming back online. That all adds up in the ROI discussion. If you're working from home, your Wi-Fi goes out, the power goes out, and you can't back it up. That's lost revenue for the day. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this, because people really do. We talk a lot about ROI, return on investment, and I really think we're kind of past that. If you focus on the future, the ROI has come down. It used to be 20 years. And now it's definitely, most residentials between 8 and 10 years, depending on, again, the system and everything that you're trying to cover and those types of things. So even the ROI makes sense, but it's really the peace of mind for me.
All right, I want to bring it back to Dan. Based on everything we're talking about, you said right now solar could be anywhere from 20 to 350,000
or more.
And I agree, and I don't ever like doing that with pricing. But with Dan, what would you recommend he should budget on the low end, and then based on his needs on the high end?
Well, strictly based on square footage of the home, I'm assuming you'd want at least 24-hour backup power. Is that a yes?
Yeah, at least. Yes. For
because
sure.
The sun does come up, so technically you really only need enough power to last maybe 8 to 10 hours during the nighttime.
Yeah. Okay.
In theory.
Well, you know better, but yeah, just hey, listen, if things happen.
Yeah, well, we're not, for us, we're not going to automatically, like I said, we're not the cheapest, but we're not going to just try to automatically sell you the highest thing. We want to sell you something that it's going to make sense, you're going to feel comfortable with.
So let's give them the range. Give me the low and give me the high.
Based on your square footage, I'd say you probably, and you want a full day. Is there anything else going on your property than just your house? You said you might want to heat your pool. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because that's usually a huge energy consumption.
Okay. Well, I suppose in an emergency we wouldn't have to have that.
I don't think we need to. Dan does not need to heat his pool. All right, so let's just get
Not necessarily an emergency.
Okay, I would venture to say probably $80,000 to $100,000.
So I would say
would be a fair estimate, but I wouldn't hold me to that.
So at a 5,500 square foot house, everybody, again, budgeting, you should be educated on this. We're never going to give you pricing over the radio where we don't even know what you're doing. Just to give you an idea, though, before you want to get into it, anywhere from between 20 and 350. And in Dan's case, a bigger home between 80 and 120,000. I add a little bit more for you, Tom. We'll be back right after these messages where we're going to hit a little bit more
Thanks,
on Dan's situation to make sure that we get him the right solution to keep his pool warmed up. Welcome back to the All Four Seasons Home Show. I'm Chris Lalomia, your favorite handyman. We're in our final segment of this Saturday's episode, and if you caught where we were right before the break, we were making fun of Dan, talking about him having to make sure he had a warm pool during a crisis when the rest of us were without power.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah.
hold on.
What?
I didn't need the emergency pool heater, although it would be nice. But what I was really thinking about was saving that money. Tom talked about
I take it back then.
about how expensive it is to run a pool, and I thought, well, maybe I can save a few bucks.
Okay.
Well,
All
I'm
right.
going to show you. I'm going to show you an angle because I'm actually adding a solar pergola because let's to power my pool separately from the house, and it's really sexy. I'm telling you. And then the other thing on the solar, you got a lot of concrete and a lot of parking lots out here. So the canopies, the bifacial, it gets the direct sun, the indirect sun. I mean, it protects your cars, everything. But, there's a lot of really, you wait, you give me a call after this and we're going to get you set up.
We are definitely going to be talking because I have pergolas already going in at two different spots over the pool. So that would be amazing.
You want solar.
That sounds amazing. So we will definitely get together after
and
this.
these pergolas will come with lighting and Bluetooth speaker capability.
Okay.
So you will be all set.
We are talking with Tom from Custom Solar Solutions. Tom, how can everybody get a hold of you and your company?
Well, our website, easiest way is our website, customsolarsolutions.com. That's the easiest way to get. And our main number is, I never call it, but 770-740-6898.
All right, that's customsolarsolutions.com. Tom Bowman, we're talking about that. And Tom, one of the things that we talked about real quick during the break, and I want to get back into this, is that as a business owner, Dan and I are part of and meet with a number of other business owners throughout the year, and we talk about certain things. And we all have been talking about AI and the impact of AI, but one of the things that is interesting to us is just the impact of the power consumption due to AI. Because of all the computing power they need to have a lot of electricity, which may actually pull away from us as homeowners. Is this a great solution for solar? Tell us a little bit more about the impact of AI and what that's doing to us.
Yeah, well, I'm sure everybody's well aware, TV, every radio, everything, AI, the data, adding of data centers, it's driving costs up. It's straining the grid because it requires more power. And so ultimately, we're all going to be paying that in our rates, right, in our fees, et cetera. So I actually had the opportunity to meet with the CEO of one of the bigger data center developers down here in South Georgia, and I was trying to sell him solar, actually, to power the data centers. And very quickly, it made me aware that I would literally we'd have to solarize the state of Nevada to just power one of his buildings. It's so much power. Ultimately, they're going to go down the nuclear path of upgrading a couple old nuclear power plants to supply their power. The bigger concern for me is the demand that AI and the data centers and everything is putting on the grid and on Georgia Power and other utilities, and to be able to produce that much power, it really ultimately impacts you at the end of the day. Your home, are you going to have enough power? Is the strain on the grid too much? Are you going to have more outages? I don't know this, but again, looking forward, peace of mind, future. In my mind, I want to own my power and I want to be able to hedge my bets. And because inflation's happening every year, more and more costs, the affordability crisis that we're dealing with right now in the country, it's only going to get worse in my mind. And with all this new technology and everything else, I think the technology is going to be very beneficial, but the cost and the risks associated with bringing all that stuff online, to me, considering other alternatives to how you're going to get your power when you need it, when you really need it, to me is a real thing to really consider.
I think that's definitely an impact, again, as business owners, as homeowners, looking towards the future and what's happening. This obviously is happening. I think you've mentioned this before, is that our electric grid is getting old and it's getting antiquated and needs to be upgraded, and we're all going to have to pay for that somehow.
Correct.
And we're not going to pay for it with a one-time assessment. We're going to be paying for it over the years with how much we pay per kilowatt hour to our power companies.
Mm-hmm.
And solar mate, when I heard those numbers, you've been mentioning this before. When I heard for a larger home between 80 and 140,000, maybe, Dan. I can't
Well, there we
remember
go.
the
There we
exact
go
number.
with the inflation factor here. There we go.
Well,
Chris, man, he's making Tom a bunch of money
if
on
I'm
me
com- well, if
already.
We
I'm
might
coming
be able to get you in for maybe 60, 70,000. But yeah,
Well,
if you
hey,
had a pergola, then that's going to cost. But
Well, if I'm coming up there to Dan's house, I want my warm pool, Dan, and I've got to have that going. I want to make sure my air conditioning's working.
Even in a storm, right?
Even in a storm. Thank you, Dan. But as we look at this, a great inflation hedge, as it were, talking about that, you also have the other aspects of it. Now I want to ask one other question. You talked about HOAs. It never looks pretty. People say, well, I just don't want those things on my house because they don't look good. I was like, how would you answer that question?
I think 10 years ago, I would agree. I think now, fast forward with the technology and the way they've developed, these black on black panels, and you can mount them with they look sexy. They really do. And you can do it in a lot of different ways. Now, a ground mount, if you do something on your property, we can go with the big mamma jammas, and they might not be as pretty, but they're functional. They generate more power. So there's a lot of different ways. There's different kinds of racking. You can actually put skirts around the outsides of the profiles to make them blend in with the roof and everything else. So there's a lot of different ways that you can really make these things really good looking. They've come a long way. We haven't installed any, but I hear out there that there's even different color panels. So if you've got a red roof, you might be able to even get a red panel to blend in. But I don't hold me to that. But I've heard.
That's where Chris stays, the red roofs.
Is that what I was thinking? That's why I mentioned red, because I thought Chris might.
That's my favorite hotel of choice is the Red Roof Inn. But I was thinking for our Georgia dog fans, we would have red, black, red. There we go. I'm a Georgia fan. I could put my Georgia solar panels on my roof and keep my costs down and keep my pool heated if I'm going to see Dan.
And the canopies and the pergolas, we can paint those too for you.
I love this. This is great stuff. Again, Tom Bowman from Custom Solar Solutions. How many employees do you have, and how do you guys go about doing this work?
Well, right now we've got 19, and we're looking to expand and add another probably 10 this year. Again, we're trying to make sure we get the right folks in place. Like I said, we're doubling in size every year. This year is hopefully we'll be tripling in size, because there's a lot of businesses that are finally realizing that if we go down for a day, how much revenue is that going to cost me? For a power outage. We've got one customer up in Cherokee that their annual power bill's over $1 million, and those are grandfathered rates. But he goes down. He has outages and brownouts, or even the flickering that you get. The 10 to 15 second type stuff. Everything's got to reboot and all that. So it all costs a significant amount, and he's planning on trying to solarize his entire operation, and that. Actually, ROI on that's going to be less than 3 years if everything works out right, because there's still incentive tax credits of up to 40% for commercial.
This has been great information, and once again, we've got a great episode that you can go out there and check out on the All Four Seasons Home Show. We're here every Saturday from 9 to 10, and if you missed it, you can always go out there and check us out online on Extra 106.3, on the app, or even on the podcast. Until next week, go out there and make sure your home is being taken care of, and go look at that solar option that can help you. We'll talk to you next week on the All Four Seasons Home Show.